Greetings, history enthusiasts. Today we're diving deep into the sugary depths of the Sugar Act of 1764. Picture this, it's 1763. The British Empire, victorious after the 7 Years' War, finds itself with a tiny problem, a mountain of debt. Now you might think, what does a bunch of British debt have to do with American colonists and their sweet tooth? Well, my friends, that's where things get interesting. The British Parliament, in all its wisdom, decided the solution was simple: tax the colonies. Thus, the Sugar Act, also known as the American Revenue Act, was born. This act wasn't just about sugar, though. It was about control, revenue, and a brewing storm of colonial discontent. Stay tuned as we uncover the story of how a seemingly simple tax on molasses helped ignite the flames of revolution. GAP 3S. But before we delve deeper into the Sugar Act, let's take a brief detour to understand another significant piece of legislation that played a pivotal role in the growing colonial resentment: the Stamp Act of 1765. This act required that many printed materials in the colonies, such as newspapers, legal documents, and even playing cards, be produced on stamped paper made in London, carrying an embossed revenue stamp. The Stamp Act wasn't just about taxation, it was about asserting control over the colonies' everyday lives and commerce. The response was immediate and intense. Colonists saw the Stamp Act as a direct assault on their rights and freedoms. Protests erupted, boycotts were organized, and the phrase, "no taxation without representation," became a rallying cry. The widespread resistance against the Stamp Act united the colonies in a common cause and set the stage for a growing sentiment against British rule. This burgeoning discontent was a crucial precursor to the American Revolution, and it demonstrated the colonies' willingness to stand up against what they perceived as unjust laws. With this backdrop of resistance and unrest, the stage was set for the next chapter in our story, the Sugar Act. Stay with us as we explore how this seemingly simple tax on molasses became a catalyst for revolutionary change. As we learned, the British Empire was broke. Those fancy red coats and fancy hats don't pay for themselves. Parliament needed a solution, and fast. Their eyes fell upon the American colonies, brimming with resources and potential tax revenue. The 7 Years' War, while a victory for Britain, had been costly. Protecting those pesky colonists from the French and their Native American allies didn't come cheap. The British government argued that the colonists should share the burden of their own defense. Seems reasonable, right? Well, the colonists weren't exactly thrilled with this logic. They felt they'd already done their part, thank you very much. But the British government, ever persistent, believed it was time for the colonies to start contributing more to the empire's coffers. Enter the Sugar Act. Now let's talk molasses. This thick, sweet syrup, a byproduct of sugar production, was a hot commodity in the colonies. It was used to make rum, a popular drink that fueled many a colonial gathering and probably a few pirate parties too. The Sugar Act aimed to regulate colonial trade and raise revenue by imposing a tax on molasses imported from non-British colonies. This meant that colonists could only buy molasses from British sources at a higher price. Not cool, Britain. Not cool. This tax hit colonial merchants and traders hard. It disrupted their established trade networks and cut into their profits. The Sugar Act also included stricter enforcement of customs regulations, making it harder for colonists to skirt the rules and the taxes through smuggling. Section 4. No taxation without representation. The colonies cry foul. The colonists were not happy campers. Imagine someone reaching into your pocket and taking your hard-earned shillings without even asking nicely. That's how the colonists felt about the Sugar Act. No taxation without representation became the rallying cry of the day. The colonists argued that they should not be subjected to taxes imposed by a parliament in which they had no elected representatives. They felt like second-class citizens, denied the rights enjoyed by their British counterparts across the Atlantic. Protests erupted throughout the colonies. Merchants organized boycotts of British goods, refusing to buy anything that would line the pockets of their oppressors. The seeds of rebellion were sown, and the Sugar Act provided the perfect fertilizer. Section 5. More than just sugar, a taste of things to come. The Sugar Act was just the beginning. It was part of the Townshend Acts, aimed at asserting control over the colonies. These acts inflamed tensions and were seen as an attack on freedoms. The British underestimated the colonists' resolve to resist tyranny. Section 6. Sweetening the pot. The Sugar Act's lasting impact. While the Sugar Act might seem like a minor historical footnote compared to the Boston Tea Party or the Declaration of Independence, it played a crucial role in setting the stage for the American Revolution. It ignited the debate over taxation without representation, a principle that would become a cornerstone of the American Revolution. It also fostered a growing sense of unity and shared purpose among the colonies. The Sugar Act was a bitter pill to swallow, but it served as a wake-up call for the colonists. It showed them that they could no longer stand idly by while their rights were trampled upon. The sweet taste of liberty, it turned out, was worth fighting for.